Hello, welcome to Evangelistic Apologetics. This is your friend Dai-Ching Yuan speaking. We are trying to make a presentation of a systematic Christian worldview. And when I became a Christian, I naturally started to share my faith. And the first questions I encounter are usually like these. The first one actually is, doesn't the Bible say that the universe is only 6,000 years? And how can that reconcile with science? You see, that may be viewed by somebody as a small issue, but it actually the first question that I encountered. Okay, and another one is, isn't evolution scientifically proven? And does that mean that we don't need to believe in a God? There's no need for faith in God. So that's another question that I meet. And another one, related one is, aren't all religions enemies of science? Okay, so all of these are related, and they're all related with science, with philosophy, with the way to knowledge, to know things. And so that is one group of questions that we need to deal with. I think all people who have been educated somewhat, or in other another way of saying, have been polluted, and we have these questions. It's natural to live in this time, in this world. So we need to deal with these issues. If you don't answer the questions, people are prevented from meeting God face to face. They are here dealing with these obstacles. It's our duty, believers' duty, to deal with this. So that's one kind of question. Another kind of question is about religion. Say, first about science, second is about religion. And are there many ways to God? Why is God unfair? Why does God allow suffering? And what is Trinity? Why do we need to believe in that? And why should man glorify God? And, isn't God kind of selfish and proud? So all of those things are understandings about the religions of the world and about God of the Bible. That's one type of questions. So we need to deal with religion or God, the concept of God. And the third group of questions about the Bible. And one often proposes that isn't the Old Testament and New Testament talking about two gods? One is cruel and the other is merciful. And that's very popular. And another question is, why should we trust in the Bible? Isn't that man-made book, just like every other book? And then there are more serious questions like, how do you understand free will? And how do we become Christian? And so that's another question about the Bible and about theology. Okay, it's another group. And finally, it's about life and more divergence about our origins and culture, such as why are there evil and suffering, and what should we do after we believe? Okay, believe, and what should I do? And what will the future be? And why am I here? If I'm a Chinese, what's so special about being Chinese? Is there anything in Chinese history that justifies our faith or supports our faith, or give me a reason to be here and now and for the future? And people from other nation or other culture can ask the same question. So that's my experience. When you want to share the good news of an eternal life, there are many, many obstacles to leading a person to truth and life. And you have many natural questions. And there is no dumb question, there are only dumb answers. And all these questions are reasonable and they deserve good answers. And they are usually about these areas, about science, religion, Bible, and life. So to deal with these things, I think we have to deal with each issue separately and in depth. that's what I'm trying to do. So today I'm going to continue the issue we have started on philosophy, about knowledge, about how do you know, and especially we're going to get into the issue about truth. What is truth? Okay, so last time when we met, we talked about how should we think, right? How should we think? When we think, we have to think logically, right? And we mentioned that you have to use logic to think, right? Thanks to Plato and Aristotle, they figured out how to think, the formal logic, more than 2,000 years ago, around 300-400 BC. Okay, and now we are more have more knowledge about how to think. But when you think logically, we have to use the syllogism, right? So the big premise, first premise, like I am, like all men die. Second premise is I am man, and the conclusion is I die, right? So you have a big set or group of, and then you have a small set or member of the set which should inherit or have, possess, own a property of every member of the set. So that's how you reason, you get your conclusion. So when we logically think, we are dealing with, number one, an issue of faith. The statement about the big project or the big set is usually received by faith. See, all men die. Have we tested all men? Have we met all men? Did we live in the space and time, in the trajectory of every man in the world? Of course we haven't. So how do you know that? Well, you have observed some part of life, and you have heard from people, and you have done an induction from specific to general, so you believe in the general statement, all men die. Okay? And it may be true, it may not be true, it may generally be true, but have specific situations and special situations that violate this statement. So anyway, when you logically think, you cannot escape the issue of faith. There are some things that cannot be tested by experience or reason. They're just accepted by faith. Okay? And certain things are facts of life, like I'm a man, that's a fact, that's an experience. Actually, René Descartes said, I am thinking, so I am. And some people say, oh, that's rationalism. Well, actually, he's talking about an empirical thing. He was experiencing thinking, so he must exist. Right? So that's a fact of life. And this is by experience. Okay? We have faith, we have experience, and we have reason. Okay? Reason is you go with logical thinking. So when you think, how should we think? You think logically. You deal with three ways to knowledge. You have experience in the bottom, you have reason in the middle, and you have faith up there. And all three are there. You encounter all three of them. Can you think with just one or two of these means or not the other? That has been people's desires in the history of Western philosophy, which is quite representative of all mankind. But it has been unsuccessful. So my proposition is that on the issue of philosophy, we got to know four things. Epistemology, how do we know? And on metaphysics, what is there? And on ethics, what should we do? And on categorical philosophy, and why do we do this? Okay? And the first question you must ask is, how do we know? Okay, and when you want to know, you must deal with all three levels of knowledge. Okay, so we have given you the three things to know. Okay, experience, we have reason, and we have faith. If you think logically, you are dealing with all three of them. Can you deal with just part of them? My suggestion is that you can't, because humans have tried. We give you a brief presentation of the Western philosophy, which is the progress of epistemology. I'm not sure it's progress, but it's a development, the history of epistemology. In the beginning, it was the ancient Greeks. They believed in reason. They are seeking for things to believe. So these are what we call them the classical period, okay? And they are the Greeks. And in the medieval time, people know what they believe, okay? In the medieval time, they know what they believe. And they just try to systematize everything, and they try to live it out. And that's Christian period. So the classical period is from, let's say, 500 BC to about 300, AD 300, 400. And from Augustine, about 400, and then go all the way to about 1500, AD 1500. That's a medieval time. And in the modern time, after the Renaissance and Reformation, people started to doubt on what people believed in the medieval time. The whole system, they started to doubt it. But they have not really proven them wrong. They're just saying we should test them by experience. So that's modern people. Modern people use experience to test it. So this is the modern period. The modern period is the period of science. Okay, and the medieval period is the period of faith. Okay, depends on faith, and modern is issue of science. And modern period people are very, very sure of what they believe in and what they reach. They say this is the age of reason, this is the age of scientific test. We reached the ultimate truth. And many social experiments have been done in the name of science. Okay? But they have not brought us to an ideal world. Rather, they have caused disasters and catastrophes and genocides. And in the West, it was National Socialism in Germany that divides people by race. In the East, it was communism that divides people by class. But all of them have caused a lot of trouble. So right now, people start to doubt even the age of science, even modernism. And in modern time, people believe in truth. They believe there is a truth. They just don't think that it is in the Bible. They think it's in science. But they found out science can only answer very low-level questions on how the world runs. It does not really answer higher-level questions on why are we here, and what is right and wrong, what's good and evil, what's the purpose of living, and what is the goal of life, for being here. So they cannot answer high questions, and they even question the whole epistemology. So in postmodern time, which now we are in, that's where people doubted both faith and reason. They only believe in experience. So right now, we know we only believe in experience, and we may try to look for a way to think. But I don't know. I'm not sure. The most popular idea now is deconstructionism from Derrida and Foucault, and they try to deconstruct everything before except themselves. And they say there is no truth. Now, what about what you just said? Is that word truth? They will make exceptions. So there's a lot of inconsistencies in the postmodernism. So right now, Okay, we are in the postmodern world, postmodern period. Okay, and this is the time of subjectivism. People are very subjective. What I think, what I feel is important. People don't believe there's a universal truth. People don't believe there is what we call the meta-narrative, big story. So the Bible is a big story, no. Science is a big story, also no. Even the statement, there is no meta-narrative, is actually a big story, just like atheism is a theology. And but people try to say that what you believe is okay to you as long as it doesn't conflict with me. But if they are logically in conflict, they are. And you got to deal with it. So science is time when trying to be objective, but these are times, I think, from modernism to postmodernism. These are times when people try to use only one or two of these ways of knowledge. Okay, science period trying to use reason, and right now they only just use experience. All of them try to reject faith, while in reality they have assumptions which they accept by faith. So this is the issue we face now. Do we want to pick and choose what means of knowledge, or do we want to use what I suggest as comprehensive epistemology? You will use all three means of knowledge. You will not reject any of these. Faith, reason, experience. You recognize their presence, and then you give credit just according to the way that you come to the knowledge. Okay? And you know that they have different level of credibility, maybe, but you do give them proper recognition as they are. So when we want to use these three ways as a summary: faith, reason, and experience, and use the three ways of knowledge to know and to arrive at what? What do we want to know? To arrive at truth, right? So now it goes to our next natural question, okay? Which is, what is truth? That's the question we want to answer. Can you define truth? Okay? It's not an easy question to answer. Okay? Just think about it. How do you define truth? Truth is, when I ask people, how do you define? Give me a definition of truth. People usually will say, truth is something eternal. Well, maybe, maybe not. Truth is something that describes something correctly. If it's correct, then it may be eternally correct. But situation may change, then this sentence may not be right. So truth is eternal at best. It's an attribute of truth. It is not the definition. Okay? And at worst, it might not be true. So what is truth? How do you define a concept as fundamental as truth? Well, you define things by other concepts that are even more fundamental, such as existence. Something must exist, right? You exist. I exist. And you're listening, I'm talking. And we are experiencing our existence. Okay? I think that's pretty hard to get beyond. So there are things that exist. Then there are things that describe or reflect what exists in thought or in language. Okay? And the description may be accurate and may be inaccurate. All right? But if it's accurate, what do we call this description of reality? Truth. right? So that's what I would say. I would suggest that you define truth from existence and from the reflection of the existence, okay, of reality. Okay? Existence or reality, we use it interchangeably, something that is there. Okay? And it's reflected in human mind or thought or language. And when this reflection is accurate, then we call that true, right? Such as I say, there are money in my wallet. Okay? That's a statement. But is that statement true? Well, if it's true, it must accurately reflect the reality that it refers to, right? So let me take out my wallet and let me check in it, and I found out there are money in my wallet. All right? So there's a thing, which is money. And there's another thing, which is a wallet. And there's a relationship between these two things. The money is spatially, in the wallet. So is the sentence I just said true? Well, apparently it is true, because what I said reflects the reality accurately. Okay? But if I say there are $100 in my wallet, and if I check it, well, there's not that many, then that's not true, right? So for something to be true, this thought or saying must accurately reflect the reality. Okay? So how do we define truth? Truth is an accurate reflection in the subjective world. Subjective world, which is something exists in human mind. It's an accurate truth is an accurate reflection of the objective world, things that exist in reality, okay, in the subjective world, in our mind, in our thought, in our sentence, in our writing. Okay, so let's write down our definition of truth. What is truth? That's our central question of today. Well, truth is the accurate reflection of reality. Okay? It's a reflection of the objective world, something that exists. So we say there must be, to have truth, there must be an objective world. Or rather, reality to be reflected on. Okay? There must be something that exists to be reflected. And that's the reality. And to reflect that into a subjective world, okay? There must be a subjective world. There must be a mind that is thinking. So this is subjective world. Let's just call that the mind, but it's something that may be broader than the human mind, maybe the writing, maybe the collective mind of humanity, or maybe a spiritual world of that can think, whatever. There must be a subjective world that reflects on the objective world. If the reflection is accurate, the idea is accurate, then it is true. If it's inaccurate, it's false. Accuracy is not the same as precision, though. Okay, precision involves quantity. Okay, and something can be said without the precision, without quantity. Like I said, there are money in my wallet. That's a qualitative statement without quantity. So as long as accurate, it's true. It doesn't have to be precise because it does not involve in quantity. But anyway, when you do the reflection, the question is now, we know there are three ways of knowing, and that seems to reflect the three levels of reality and results in three kinds of knowledge or understanding. We know that there is a natural world, something in nature, okay, and there's something human. The human thing is more than just material. The natural one seems to be material, but not necessarily so exact, but it's matter and energy, space, and time, something in the natural world, describable by natural laws. And there's something supernatural. The supernatural things are beyond the natural and human. The human things have a little more than just matter. There is a mind or soul involved. We got to understand humans are a little more than just regular natural things. We're more than animals. Okay, and there's at least a possibility of something supernatural world, right? There's a supernatural world. You may not be sure of their existence, but at least as a concept, put that as a category. Okay, if it's natural, we can experience. So mainly through experience, we get science. Okay, and for the human world, mainly through reason, we get philosophy. And for the supernatural world, it's mainly through faith, we get religion. Right? So here are all of the categories of epistemology. The objective world, the subjective world, three levels, natural, human, supernatural, three matters of knowledge, experience, reason, and faith, three results of knowledge, science, philosophy, and religion. Are they separated as people think? I don't think that you can totally separate them. They just differ on perspectives. And for a while, science was called natural philosophy. It used to be called natural theology. So they were just separated recently. So the way of knowledge in the middle, I might make up a word. It's a midjective word. But it is necessary to define these concepts in order for us to go forward in knowing what is truth, what is standard of truth, and how do we know the truth. Okay, so these are ways of thinking. And if you think, you can't avoid meeting this issue. So now we know. Here are the categories of epistemology, and this is the process of knowing. Truth, what is truth? Truth is the accurate reflection of the objective world in the subjective world. Praise God. Amen.